Hello all and welcome to Wow Crochet Designs. My name is Mary and in today's tutorial we are working on the border row for part 4 of our cushion or pillow, if you will. Now the border row is a join on the outside of the cushion and not so much sewing anything together. Can be a tad awkward in some sections because this side is a little bit different in stitches than this side, so just be wary about where you are popping your hook when you are crocheting the pieces together. And that's it, guys. I don't want to talk too much. You already know most of what's happening in the tutorial, but if you really wanted to know the rest, we are using 4mm hook, your stitch markers, your scissors. You will need the sewing needle to weave in those pesky ends at the end of the tutorial. But once you finish this tutorial, guys, you will have one cushion complete, both sides. This one's called the granny stripe side and this one is called your granny square side with a little bit of a twist. Not so much a twist, just, you know, different sizes of squares. And I want to thank everyone for joining us. I'm trying to get this in the light so you can see it better. Thank everyone for joining us and creating this gorgeous cushion to finalize the end of the year of 2022. All right, so thank you very much for joining us and good luck creating part 4, the final part of our cushion. Good luck all. Alrighty guys, what you should have now is your 4 buttons attached. Let's move that out the way. The rows that we did before was the 1 cream and the 2 greens. And I asked you to do 2 rows cream, 2 rows purple, 2 rows cream, 2 rows pink, and 3 rows cream. That is the end of the side done. But we need to finish off. Okay, we need to do some finishing off. There's a couple of items that we need to finish off before we attach the pieces together, which is getting very exciting now. So all you're doing at the end of the row of your 3rd row of cream, you're pulling up your loop. That's all you're doing, and you're giving your work a cut. Make sure you check your work first to make sure everything is correct, especially before we attach. Once you attach and weave in ends, it's going to be difficult to take any of this undone. All right, so that's what we've got now. What I want you to do is flip it again. Remember when we started in fact, I'll show you with the original, the very first piece we started, all the ends will be on your left hand side. So guess what? And this piece here, when you place it down on your work, all your ends will be on your left hand side. So this first row that you did here is the right side of your cover. Here we go. So that's the right side of your cover, yeah? Which means, let's move this guy out the way again. Just flip your work upside down. Yeah, this is still the right side of your cover. You're going to grab your hook, pop it straight into the stitch. Grabbing your cream again, we're going to do a slight border row. This is a basic straight edge border row. It's not going to look like this one right here. Check that out. How gorgeous is that? That's our mood pillow. So if you're wanting to try that one there, this is the look you're going for on that one there. We did a corner to corner stitch on that one, which is why you've got your little picoed edge there, yeah? And that's the back of the mood pillow. And that's the one that we've got here on the channel. I'll pop a link to that pillow in the description box down below if you wanted to make that one. But for now, we are going to close up this one right here. Your hook is in your first stitch, grabbing your cream again, pulling that loop through, just passing your tail forward, just locks it all into place so that you know, it's knotted if you think about it. You're chaining one and you're doing a single crochet in that stitch. So pop your hook in the stitch, pull a loop through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. You don't need to place a stitch marker there. You've crocheted over a tail once, pop it at the back. All right. From here, you're going to jump into that space with 2 single crochets. So single 1 over the chains, like that. Single 2 over the chains. And then straight into that big space with a single crochet. Into the next big space there, 2 single crochets. So in other words, in every cluster stitch, you're doing 1 single crochet. And in every big space, you're doing 2 single crochets. Yeah, it's very simple, this border, very, very simple. One into the next and two into your big space in between the clusters. All right, that is the look you're going for. It is going to tighten it up. That is what we want. We want to keep the base of the cushion tight so it doesn't stick out and loosen up, yeah? So I'm going to pop this on fast, but what I want for you to do is exactly that. A single crochet in every stitch you come to, and 2 single crochets in every space. 1 in every stitch, 2 in every space. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to pop this on fast right now, and off we go. 1 and then 2. And oh, we're getting very close. Let me bring this up for you so you can see what I'm doing. 1 in that second last cluster, 2 in the space before your last cluster, and then 1 into the last cluster. And what you have is that. It's relatively tight, but it does give a neater edge, yeah? And then all you're doing is pulling up your loop. You guessed it. You're going to give it a cut. Make sure you check it first before you do this. And that's that. Now, the next bit is very exciting because guess what? You are going to crochet your pieces together. And you're thinking, already, are you sure? We are absolutely sure. What we're going to do is flip our work. No, don't flip your work. Keep it where it was. Just turn it the other way. And if you wanted to, which I think is a wise idea, is to button up your piece. So find your spaces and button up your piece. This will help you when you're sewing them together. Now that is like that, and you're just going to have to give everything a tug. That will sort itself out. It's lifting a little bit, but later when it's all crocheted together and sitting on your cushion, it will sort itself out. So in the meantime, guess what? Grab your other piece. This is so exciting. This is the right side of your work. How you can tell, it's got your buttons. So what I want you to do is flip it so that we've got the wrong side. Make sure you've sewn in your button threads. I haven't, but I'll do that later off air. I don't want to waste your time. All right. You want to find the right side of the work that we worked on before. Which is the right side, I hear you ask? The wrong side has that kind of like an edge look. You can see it. Or if you look carefully at your orange piece, the middle of the orange piece on the wrong side looks bubbled. Gives it like a messy edge, yeah? And the middle on the other side looks soft and clear, yeah? That's the side we want facing you. So you've got your 2 wrong sides together, like that. Get excited. They're thinking, look at her, she's so excited. All right. The way this works is entirely up to you. This may not all marry up. So what your best bid is to do your single crochets on this side of your work, yeah, and make sure you keep your pieces together. So let's say, for argument's sake, we pop these 2 together like that, yeah. We pop our hook in the corner of the side that we're working on, and then in a tiny little piece of thread there, what we might do is go over the stitching. So this way this side here, remember this side that we went there, we're crocheting over it later, and I'll show you that when we get to that section. You're grabbing whatever colour you want to use to crochet on. I'm going to use the cream again. Not necessary, you can use any one of these colours to put your border on, whichever suits you. Maybe in hindsight, we probably should have used the sand. We should have listened to one of our subscribers, the young Katie, and we should have used the sand. But the reason I'm doing it on this side is to make this edge look nice and neat, and you wouldn't be able to tell much on this side because of all the white you have here, or the cream you have there. Don't worry about that, you'll work that out later what I mean. In the meantime, grab your thread, giving yourself a long tail to weave in later. Yeah, this is the last one, so you're better off giving a long tail. Pull everything through, just passing it forward for a minute. Chain 1, single crochet over what you've just done, and you're going over the stitch and over your thread and over everything. Yeah, so then what you're going to do, because this is a corner, you're going to pop, wait a minute, you're going to pop a stitch marker in here because you don't want to miss that stitch at the end. So pop your stitch marker in there. And because this is a corner, you're going to do 2 more. So you're going over everything, yeah? 1 and 2. All right, so you're going to drop your tail, or you can actually weave that inside the pillow. In fact, what we'll do, we'll pop it in the pillow and you can weave it in afterwards, straight inside your case, and you can weave it in afterwards, or your cover. Call it a case because, you know, pillowcase. I've got pillowcase on the brain, but anyway, straight into your first single crochet on your blue side and straight into that very first stitch there, just for this one, and that's the stitch of your corner, just for this corner section. Then you're going into your next stitch and you are going over your chains there, like so. And then you're doing exactly the same, into the stitch and through the chains, or you can go through there. It's whatever suits you. Just make sure you're going over both sides. Now, I'm just showing you this for now, but what I want you to do in a minute is put them together with some pegs or something to hold them all into place in case you keep working and realize that it's not going to marry up at the end. The idea was to get the rows to marry up, but they may not. Do you know what I mean? So see how when I said that side will look okay with the wrong part of the single crochet showing, whereas this one here, if you had that on this side and you can see through the lines, it looks wrong. But because you've got that on one side, it looks neat on one side and still looks relatively neat on that side. I hope you understand what I mean there. So now what I want you to do is just that. I want you to crochet single crochets across. When you get to here, which we're going to do together in a minute, because we're going to crochet over a lot there, all right? When you get to here, we're going to do that in a minute. But for now, what I want you to do is find pegs. If you've got like little pegs that you can clamp your pieces together, all the way along there like that and there. So this way you keep straight. Make sure they're like little pegs or clamps or something. I don't have any. Well, I do, but I'm not going to run around and get them because I want you to I don't want to waste your time. I'm going to pop stitch markers. But if you have pegs, by all means, get your pegs. Yeah. And you might find that one side is a little bit loose than the other. This side here will be loose and the other one will be tighter. That's okay. You marry it up the way you want, yeah? There's no right or wrong way of doing this. However, I'm going to take this one here undone because I want to show you this part here. Grab your pegs or whatever you have in your stock and just keep these two sides together, which I'm struggling with already. So it's going to be an issue when I get to it. It really will. And I know what? I'm just going to go as fast as I can until we get to that section there. That's a good idea. Same with you. Go as fast as you can until you get to that corner right there, because then don't do the corner because we need to attach the corner to that. All right, so just get to there. I'm going to pop this on fast and we'll all get to there and I'll show you what we need to do next. All right, so here we go. Off we go on fast, doing just that. And off we go. right, so here we are right near that knot. Before you go ahead and do this, you might want to pop your knot inside your cushion. I'm still here, so I'm going to finish off this stitch first. And there's the knot. Oh, I think I've missed a stitch there. I'll go and fix mine off air later, but don't worry about it. For you, what I want you to do is go into your knot, pop that little knot over your stitch and inside the cushion, and going over your stitching on that side, not through the stitch, over the stitching on the other side. All right, now through the stitch on this side and over the stitching on the other side, jumping straight into your next stitch, over the cream stitching on the other side, like so. Before you go on, just make sure, and I've split the yarn again. I'm doing well today, I tell you guys. You know why? Because I'm rushing. I want this done today. Pop your hook through and finish off your sides like so. And there's that there. Before you go on, take your stitch marker out and let's marry everything up. All right, so the idea is to marry everything up. Whoops, I'm not even in frame. Hello, here we go. Marry everything up here like that. If you want, you can pop the stitch marker in that space there, and in fact, it's probably a wise idea, the very top stitch of your green. So you know where to go into first. We're going into the stitch of the green, and then we're going into the stitch of the green on the opposite side. Let me give you a close-up of what I did there. Okay, you're in your blue side, then you're going into the very top stitch. It was actually the base stitch of your green on the first piece, and the base stitch of your green on that piece. Now, I know we're going through spaces and everything, but when we get here, we've got to go through that stitch. Otherwise, it's not going to be strong enough, and we need it to be strong. So what we're going to do is just, make sure everything is nice and even. You don't want to be pulling it like that or pulling it. We just want it nice and even. Yeah. Grabbing your thread like so. I know I'm wasting a lot of time here, guys, but I want this to be thorough. So we're still going to go into the space there and into the white space still. Yeah. Then we're jumping right over our stitching. We might have to do another space, sorry. Go into that space again because it's a big space. And then go into some stitching on the opposite side. Always where this corner is, we're going into both. Then we're jumping over that knot. We're going into the space with the stitch marker, into the first green and then into the second green. So this is going to be very awkward. Let's see how we can do this. We'll go into the space. Look, I'll take it all out and I'll show you how to do it without the stitch marker. It's a lot easier. You go into your first green, so much easier that way. And then into your space there, that little stitch space there of the green. And then you pull your loop through and you single crochet like that. All right. Back into the space again because it is a corner. And we're just going to do another one. And this time we're going into the space of the green, into the space of the green and single crochet. Now into the stitch of the blue, into the space of the green again, into the space of the green again and single crochet. Into the stitch of the blue and into the next space. I might have to, because there's two spaces in there, there's only one stitch. We go into the space again there, and this time we'll go into that stitch on the other side and not the space. Then into the stitch on the blue. I'm trying to be thorough here, guys, sorry. Into the stitch on the other side, into the stitching. Actually, it's more into this, it's into the stitching of the green. It's now what's happening is it's all squashed up. Yeah. Into the stitch there, into the stitching of your green, into the stitching on the opposite side. And I'm splitting yarn as we speak. We don't want to do that, so I'm going to pull it through like that, single crochet. Almost there. Into the stitch, into the space of the white cream, into the stitch of the cream on that side, and pull it through and do your single crochet into the stitch, into the space of your cream again, and then into the space of your cream on the opposite side. It's all very tricky. I'm splitting yarn. There, single crochet, yeah, into the stitch, into the space of the cream on one side, into the space of the cream on the opposite side there. Wait a minute, that went through one stitch, didn't it? It's a bit tricky, this area. Into the space of the cream, single crochet. Remember, if you're not liking this way of doing it, I'm sure you'll have your own way, but this is the easiest way I can think of. Into your stitch of your cream here, into your single crochet of your cream on the other side. You can tuck that tail in, you can work on that later, yeah, and then just doing your single crochet like that. Last one, into the stitch, and now you're jumping into the blue and into, oh, I think we're done. That was the last one. Oh, okay, that's good. You're jumping into the blue, but what I want you to do is go into the blue with a stitch. All right, like, if I can pull the loop through, go into that blue stitch, into your normal stitch, pull a loop through, and there's your single crochet. All right, so what you have is that. It was all very fiddly, it's all very, fussy, but it's done. It's a little bit wonky, but that's okay. All right, I'm gonna have to do mine again because look, my little threads come undone there, so I'm gonna have to go back and fix it. I just pulled a loop through, that's all. I made a, stitch, pulled a stitch, and there you go. So when you turn it over, and once you fill your cushion, that will be non-noticeable. So you won't even notice that at all. Especially won't notice this because I'm going to fix it off air. That one right there. All right. So your job now, and this is easier now. This is the easy part. To go along here, yeah. When you get to your corners, you're putting one single crochet and then the second one, yeah. And then you're going over all the stitches and loops that you can. Skip over this stitch right here. So you get 2 in there, 2 in there, and then 1 in each, yeah? And over here, you're putting 2 in the spaces. You're going over. When I say going over, you are actually crocheting over your stitching. When you get here, you might want to get into that stitching there, and then into that one there, and then go over your stitching with your 2 stitches there. But you do what you can and how best you think you can. Make sure you peg everything together. See, it's starting to bubble a little bit. We don't want that, yeah? We're going to peg everything together and hopefully it'll all work out. And if it doesn't, just make it work out, yeah? Just settle it and make it work out. It's just a little bit puffy because it's the stitch, yeah? But you can do it. And just be wary not to keep doing it like that and then you realise later you've got that. Peg it down. Put pegs all the way along here so you are crocheting in each of those stitches and the pegs don't move out of place and you should even out at the end. All right, so head off on your own, single crochet along this stretch here, get to this corner here or just before it, maybe the last stitch of the blue on this side, and wait for me there and we'll talk about what we're going to do next. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this side. Now I must admit I did struggle to get mine to stay straight. Hopefully yours wasn't that much of a problem, but mine really was. So into the stitch before the end of the row and over your stitch there. Now we're getting into the corner. Remember the corner we did 3 single crochets. So you can, let's take out that stitch marker. You go into your corner and then what you're doing, pop it into the corner space, single crochet, making sure it doesn't look too bulky there. We're going to do it again, 2 and 3, and let's just have a look at it. It's not too bad. Okay, now what you do is you'll flip your work to your side, and this side will be a little bit easier, okay, because you have no bubbled edges to go over, no buttoned edges to go over. So this is an easy side. However, it still has to add up. So you still need to peg it. Yeah. So let's see how we can do this first in the first few stitches. We go into that first stitch and right into the space there with a single crochet. Into your second stitch, and you're going into that stitch with a single crochet. Into your third stitch, you're going into the space with a single crochet. Your next stitch into the space with a single crochet. Again, if it doesn't add up, you can change it to suit. Stitch and the stitch across the side. All right, have a play. Check your stitches out and hope that they all marry up to the end. It looks like it's not going to again, but you know, you just play with it to suit. I will tell you what to do when we get to this little corner edge here. So let's continue along that side, which is there, into a space, into the next stitch, into a space. That's a really big space, yeah. Into the stitch of the cluster set, and so on until we get to that knotted area. Into the space, into the stitch, into the space, into the stitch, into your stitch, into the stitch, and into your space. But I'm going to pop that tail down and inside the cushion and just crochet over it like so. It's still sticking out because we're going to go over it in the knot itself. Into the stitch and into your space, and you're doing it like that. When you weave that in on the inside of your work, that knot will disappear, yeah? And what you're doing, you're not going into that section there, you're going right into the second stitch. All right, just remember that, yeah? And into your stitch on the opposite side. When you get to your corner, you're popping 2 in there. So 1 in the first section, a second one in there, and a second one in the next side. Skipping over that stitch, 1 into the corner, you're going into the stitch. Second one in the corner, and it goes right into the next space. And then your next stitch, goes into your stitch and your second stitch in the space. So you need to marry it up to suit you. All right. So I'm not going to talk anymore. I'm going to let you get started creating that side right there, that side all the way up until you get to your very next corner. Now, every now and then adjust your work to suit. If it's not going to make it across the corner where there's too much on one side, not enough on the other, adjust it to suit, yeah? Let's turn it over and see what it looks like there, all right? So adjust it to suit you. Popping your pegs in and you don't have to do exactly the same way I've been doing here. You can pop a stitch in every one of these grey stitches. That's all I want you to do. But in here, you can play with it. If you find that there's not enough over here, then just move it over a little tiny bit. You won't even notice a little tiny movement. Once it's on the pillow or the cushion, you'll see how that looks later. All right, so just keep doing that right up to the stitch marker here, and I'll meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, now yours truly had to maneuver a little bit and play with my stitching towards the end. I had to take half the row undone and play with the stitching. If you were anything like me, you would have had to have done that too. Alright, this is where it's a little awkward because we've got quite a lot of tails. I'm going to take out the stitch marker. We've got quite a lot of tails and not a lot of the cream left to go, yeah? So what we're going to do is jump into that stitch. I'm going to pass that tail into the piece, and I'm going to go back into the same stitch I am in and pulling a loop through. Just pull that, that's the tail you see sticking up. We're going to pull that through. Tighten everything up. and then single crochet. And that tail you're going to need to weave in later. There's a cream tail here, you've got to pop that in as well. Straight into your very next stitch, which is the stitch with your knot. Yep. Straight into the knotted stitch of the cream, and this will hold that knot into place. Yeah. Straight into your second stitch, not your chain, your second stitch. Now you're into the stitch of your base row of the cream, just the stitch part area. Then you're going into your next stitch, and you're going to go back into the stitch with the cream. If you've got space, you can go into that second stitch there, but there's no space. We're going to jump into that area with the corner area, yeah? So into your corner and then right into that piece there with your corner. 1, 2, and 3. Now that was really, really awkward for me. I don't know how it was for you, but it was for me. Okay, so what we're going to do is turn our work this way and work along the most difficult side of the pattern. Why is it difficult, I hear you ask? Look at all these threads. Now, if it's easy for you to weave these threads in and out of some stitching, let's grab one of the ends. In fact, what we'll do is we'll grab one from over here. No, we'll grab one of the pinks. Yeah, so you can see pink is easier to see. No, it's not. Let's grab the blue. Blue will be easier to see. I'm trying to make it easier for you. Easier for you to see. So pop your thread through. Now, if you wanted to, this is the inside of your work. Yeah, so you can actually just pass your blue thread all the way, making sure you can't see the needle from the front. Yeah, just pass it in through the back, through some stitching, and I've left my tail a little too long here. Let's fix that tail up. Hello, there. All right, so just pass it in there, over up to the top here, and through some stitching there. Make sure you can't see the needle from the front. Yeah. Don't pull too tight, because at the end of the day, you'll be pulling this stitch here, and you don't want to. You don't want to leave it too loose either. So I'm only going to go in and out one side, one section, and then the other section. I'm not going to fuss too much because we are crocheting over that piece there, yeah? So grab your little scissors and cut it. So you can do just that, or you can crochet over it and then weave them in. My suggestion would be to weave them in first. In fact, I think what you should do is just that. But before we do, this is the other one you want to weave in. Now I'm going to try and show you another one, and then I think we will head off on our own and weave them in and then come back. I think that might be the best way to do this, yeah? It's probably the very best way. I'm trying to thread the needle. All right, probably the she's losing the plot now, guys. So probably the best way to do this is to actually do just that. Making sure that your thread is tight, but not too tight and not too loose. It has to be tight enough where it's closed and still loose enough so you don't have that look right there. You don't want that, yeah? But you do want it closed. Now remember, we didn't knot this, yeah? So once again, you are going through some threading here at the back. Make sure you can't see it in the front. I've just split some stitch there, yeah? Pull it through. And if you want to go back in there, which is super thick right now, you can, or you could just go up the top of it, like so. Make sure you can't see the needle from the front, yeah? And then, once again, going back from the top. Now that is not going to come undone because it's on the inside of your cushion for starters. And then we're going to crochet over those threads right there. So in other words, we're going to crochet over around that section there. One there and one there and so on. Now this side is going to be very, very awkward. So my suggestion would be to actually weave in all these ends. All right, weave in all these ends right here. I'm actually going to weave these in as well for the sake of getting them out of the way. I thought leaving them there would make it easier, but I'm finding them very uncomfortable. So my suggestion would be to weave those grey ones right down the back, yeah, And then meet me back here once all your ends are weaved in on this side. And if you want to weave them in on the other side, you can. I don't think there's many there now. But weave all your ends in and meet me back here, and then we'll do the rest once you're ready. Okay? Do that now, and I'll meet you back here once you're done. Alrighty guys, all my ends have weaved in. Hopefully yours are as well. Now remember how we did this before. Oh, there you go. I've popped my little stitch marker in there so I don't lose my thread, as you do. Now I do apologise in advance for the weather because we've got some massive thunderstorms happening here at the moment. So I do apologise if you hear a lot of banging in the background. Sorry about that. I'm not in control of the weather, sadly. All right, so we did our 3 single crochets in that corner. Well, I hope you did. The weather, of course, has made everything go dull in the house too. Sorry, guys. Single crochet in the stitch there. Yep. And you want to go straight into that little space there and do a single crochet there. Single in your next stitch and single in the very next space. There was a bit of lightning there too. Oh, I'm scared. I'm a bit of a wimp when it comes to thunderstorms. Sorry, guys. Single in your next stitch. Did you hear that? Oh, I'm so scared. Single in the stitch space. All right, right into that space there. Single into the next stitch. And single into a stitch. Now this is going to be a little awkward now because these are a little tighter than the other side. So single into the next stitch. Yeah. Single into your stitch. Single into your side. Right there. Yep. Single into your stitch and single into your sides. Right over your purple and your cream from the previous round. Now remember how I said it won't be noticeable? It won't be noticeable because you are going over it like that. And you're using the cream to go over it. So you're going over the cream carryover with the cream. So it's not going to be noticeable. How cool is that? That was the joy of, less weaving in ends. So over the space, into the stitch, and over the space and so on. But what I want you to do for this side is to be very careful because this side here, if you've weaved in your ends and you've pulled them really, really tight, you may miss a space. So make sure you pop pegs in everywhere. Get to, where are we? Get to the blue, the light blue right here, doing exactly that. Peg it all up, peg everything up. Yeah, because you don't want to miss anything. This side looks like it's going to work perfectly, actually. But peg everything up. Get to this little blue line right here, right there, so that we can do this section here together. All right, so get to that blue right there, and I'll meet you there once you're done. Alrighty, here we are at the end of the side. By the way, guys, the power just went out about 2 minutes ago with this thunderstorm. It's come back on again, so fingers crossed that it doesn't turn off on me completely because otherwise I can't record. Don't you love it? Otherwise you can't record. All right, taking out your stitch marker there. Oh, what have I done? We've got to set it up. We've got to set it up. All right, so the idea is to set up your piece. Remember what we did before? The green and the green match, the cream and the cream match, and the whole thing was stuck here. So grab a stitch marker and pop it just through all of it for now. When we get closer to it, we can take it undone. All right. Now remember, I've just pulled out some thread, haven't I? Remember to adjust it because it may not make it across. You may have to adjust it, yeah? Which is, it's okay because it's not that noticeable once it's on the cushion that you have adjusted it to suit it. As long as you haven't made big gaps and things, that would be noticeable. But this isn't, all right? So into the stitch and into your blues. Let's see how much we've got. Trying to work out what spaces I have. So into your blues. So I'm adjusting it to suit. Into the next stitch, and I'm going back into that blue because I don't see a lot of the other side. All right, so I'm going to be stretching myself. We've got the cream to go into now. Come on, Mary, you can do this. I'm so scared of the thunderstorm. Take out the stitch marker now. All right. Don't you love it? Listen to the rain. We're just lucky like that, aren't we? All right, there's the cream we want to go into. We want to grab that cream. Now, this is going to pull a little bit, but that is normal, yeah? Grab the cream and you're going into the stitch of the cream. Pull it through, and pull it through there. Tighten it all up and do your single crochet. Do exactly the same in the next stitch. Into the cream here, into the cream on the other side. Pull it through, and through. There's a lot of throughs. And then there, and then you're going into your next stitch, but you're staying in that cream there, and you're going into that cream stitch on the other side. Pull it through all if you can. Otherwise, do it one by one like I did before. And now you're working into your greens. All right, so your greens, both sides, yeah. Whoops, I nearly did a slip stitch there. And we're doing single crochets, Mary, not slip stitches. Okay, this was where the stitch is, your knot is. So popping your hook in there. I'm not sure if that's where yours is. That's where mine is anyway. Through the green, through everything. Oh, hang on, I didn't go through the second green, did I? Let's try it again. Through the knot. Hello. Through the knot. Through that green. Your opposite side. Pulling everything through. Like so. Oh my gosh, it's coming down. Cats and dogs and elephants and everything out there. Into your stitch. Oh my gosh. Into the stitch. Into the stitch. Pulling it all through like so. And you're done. Now you're going into the very next. Where are we? We're in that stitch. We're going into the next stitch. Into the tight area of your cream. Like that. And what we're going to do, we'll do one more. And that's the corner for now. We'll do two more. So we'll do them both in the corner. Because you know the corners have to have two in there, yeah? One more. And one over the stitch. Like so. And let's have a look at, make sure you haven't messed up here. Alright, it will tug a little bit, that's normal because we put the single crochet row and we did that on purpose to keep it all tight, yeah? Alright, so now your job is to single crochet across all of here. This is the easy part, guys. This is home stretch, single crochet. Alrighty guys, I started to say head off on your own, home stretch and the rest of it, but in actual fact that's wrong. I want you to get to this corner, and once you get to this corner, wait for me there, because this section here is different. We have the 20 clusters across, which we don't have on these sides, or didn't have on these sides. And here we also have 20 clusters, but we have spaces as well. So your piece ends up to be that tiny, tiny little bit bigger, and you have to maneuver to sort that all up. Or sort it all out, if you will. So what we're going to do, we're going to do this side together. But what I want you to do is get to, oh, come on Mary, you can do this. Get to this corner right here, and I'll meet you there and we can do this side together. So just get to that very next corner where we're here, right there. Just get to that corner and I'll meet you and we'll work on this side together, and off we go. We are going to adjust our piece differently. We're not going to be putting two there and then two on that side. It's not going to be that way, all right? It's got to adjust a little different. And if I can get it organized, we can do it. We're going to pop a single crochet in the first stitch, and then right over here in that last stitch you're doing a single crochet. Then what I want you to do is get into your second one on this side, but go back into that same one on that side. Like so. So for starters, it's evened off one stitch. You need to even off quite a few. But for that, just one for now. And then in your next stitch and your very next stitch, you are doing a normal single crochet row across. All right, so continue to do that until you get to your very first corner, and I'm going to pop it on fast for you. It's only a few stitches away. Get to this corner right here, the very first corner, and I'll show you what you're going to do next, and off we go. Alright, so here we are at the end of this side here. It's not a side, it's only a section. Now you've got your space there. Normally we would have put 2 there and the one in the back and whatever else have you. But now we're going to put 1 single crochet in there, jump into your very next stitch like normal. Then you're going to skip over your knot, start your single crochet in there, but going through the same stitch that you're in on the cream side. So there you go, like that. So what you've done is it's a single crochet in each of these sides, but really it's 1 in there. We've done 2 together in there. So I'll take that undone and do it again for you so you see exactly what I do. One more time. So you start your single crochet in there and you do your single crochet on the opposite side like normal. Then you jump into your next side and you go back into the same cream stitch that you're in, just for this section right here. Then you're jumping into your next single crochet and into your very next single crochet. All right, so, well, that's actually a double crochet. You're just doing single crochets, yeah? And that's pretty much the pattern across. What I'm going to do is get you to get to that knotted area. If you don't have a knot, don't worry, but we're all going to get to that knotted area, and I'm going to pop that on fast for you, and it's just a single crochet in each stitch all the way across, and off we go. Alrighty guys, here we are right up towards that knot, yeah, but this is the stitch before the knot. I usually do that and pass that tail in. It's a little awkward when you're doing it like this for joining together. I'll split the yarn, don't you love it? So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it out for a minute, start the single crochet in the stitch next to it and just continue like normal. Go into the knot stitch, or you could go into the slip stitched area if you like. Start your knot there and do that. And then what I do is I literally tuck that under, jump straight into the next stitch, not the chains because we're in the knot there, but jump straight into the very second stitch of that side and your normal stitch on that side. You're not combining the stitch, you're just in a normal stitch. That's a stitch there and you're into the normal stitch. Now if you're struggling to do all of that, leave the tail out and just weave that in later. All right? Single there and single into your next side, and then we're doing that section where we're starting our normal single crochet like normal on both sides. We're going to start it in the next section, so jumping all over that into the next section right there and back into the same single crochet on the opposite side. Then your single crochet into your next stitch and into your next, and so on all the way across. All right, so it looks like that on this side, and on the other side it you can't even tell that you've done the 2 together, and it will marry up at the end if you do that like this all the way across. All right, so once again I'm going to pop it on fast, we're going to pass the knot and we're going to get right into that corner. So meet me here and off we go, popping it on fast. Alrighty guys, I stalled a bit there with that knot. It really drove me batty. But anyway, it's almost starting to straighten up there. Alright, so let's get a nice close up and do this corner again. You start your corner and you do it in your next stitch like normal. Easy, yeah? Jump into your very next corner but into the same stitch on the cream side like that, and then you are single crocheting in every stitch across, and off we go. I will pop this on fast for you and I'll meet you right towards the end where that stitch marker is, and off we go. Alrighty guys, I just wanted to stop you there. If you've got those white tails, which I had earlier, I just pass them into the cushion, yeah? Take out that stitch mark, you don't really need it there. So your white tails, there's a knot right there, yeah? Try and pass that inside the cushion. Don't worry anyway, we're going to be sewing that in later. I'll just show you 1 or 2 stitches and you can do the rest on your own. But in the meantime, it's a little tricky here now. You still kind of have a lot more blue than you do cream. You can't tell right now, but you will in a minute. Single into your next and into your next right there. Once again into your next and into your next on the opposite side. And you can kind of see it here. Now remember at the beginning where we did our 2 single crochets, 1 in one side and 2 in the opposite, you are going to have to do the same here. So start your single crochet here. You could probably get away with it actually, because we've already done our 3 single crochets in a corner. So just keep going into some stitching on both sides like that. Actually, I got away with it. It's like that. You don't need to do the 2 together. And there you go. Now that stitch marker that was there earlier, I've moved it. It was supposed to be in that stitch, but I kind of moved it at the back. But anyway, just where you had your stitch marker, the very, very first single crochet that you started with in the beginning of our joining, pull a loop through, pull it through to the loop on your hook. You're just slip stitching, pulling up your loop. Make your tail long only because if you've made a mistake, you want to go back and repair it. So I'm going to cut mine, right? That's the end of our, believe it or not, that's the end of it all, right? So this is one side. I can't get it out any further. This is one side of your cushion, done. And this is the other side of your cushion, done. Now I've got a bit of an opening here. So just opening up your work, your tight buttons. I'm glad I did them fairly tight actually, because, you know, it's nothing worse than buttons coming undone because they're too loose, yeah? It's better tight. If they're too loose and they don't come undone, you're very lucky. Once buttons are too loose, they come undone. All right, so what we're going to do is turn our work in there. Now remember these knots that we pulled through. You're going to give them a tug, and then you are going to weave them in like we've been doing all along across there. 3 or 4 times, wherever you want to go. You can even come down here, or you can even go right back into your stitching down here if you like, yeah? Now let's focus on those white threads that were in this corner here. Let's bring it inside out. These were the threads I was talking about. Maybe you don't even need to focus on that one, but more so on this one here. So grabbing your sewing darning needle. Now I swapped to this little guy right here. How cool is that? I love this needle with the little flick on it. Yeah, you don't need it for this part. I just swapped it because I cleaned the house the other day and I found it. And I decided to swap it. The other day when I was recording through thunderstorms because I wanted to get this pillow or cushion done for you. And right towards the very end, I thought, forget it. The thunderstorms were way too loud. We haven't actually heard thunderstorms like that in Melbourne for years. It's one of those weirdest ones, yeah? Anyway, there's your bit of trivia there. There's your thread. You can do 2 things. You can just run it through some stitches on the outside, or you can do what I'm going to do, whereas I'm just going to pop my needle through the stitching like so, right through the inside of the work. You don't have to do this. This is just what I'm going to do, and I'm going to pull it through. Having a look to make sure it didn't tug or, knot on anything, but it didn't. All right, so I pulled it through, and now what I'm going to do here is weave this in anywhere I want. I might weave this one under here a little bit. You can do whatever you like, but just this last tail really needs to be woven in properly or weaved in properly. Just make sure you can't see the needle from the front, yeah? So weave that last tail in as best you can. It is, however, the last tail that you'll need to weave in. I felt that go right through the blues. We don't want that. Otherwise it'll show on the opposite side. So notice how I'm doing it 2 or 3 times in that you don't have to. That's me being pedantic. And my regulars will know how pedantic I am with ends, tails, whatever you want to call them. And that is your very last tail done. All right, so your knot is gone, your tail is gone. Now I want you to go ahead and weave in all your ends. But before you do, I wanted to show you the pillow complete. And there you go. So that's the stitching on this side. Okay, yeah, that's one side of your pillow. And that, my dears, is the opposite side. Sorry about the lighting here, guys. I usually don't do it like this, but there you go. If I had to choose a favourite side, this would be my favourite side. Yep, but it doesn't matter. If you like that side and you want that to show, that's fine. If you want that side to show, that's fine. That's my favourite side of our cushion. The final part of our cushion is now complete. Thank you very much for joining us. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share and do all the wonderful things that you guys, well, pretty much already do for me. And don't forget, guys, joining us again pretty close to the new year of 2022. We are going to be doing some more creating next year. Some extra and new fancy stuff is coming next year. Get excited. Ciao for now and Happy New Year, everyone.